Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, when or wherever you may be. Wherever you are, I hope that you are safe, that you have a roof over your head, food in your table, that you are able to live a normal life at least. As you can see by the title of the video, it's rather simple. It's my opinion, so take it as you want. If you don't like it, don't take it. If you are here just to, I don't know, perhaps listen to someone ramble about any kind of subject that you might not agree with and want to attack, well, whatever. Uh, I really have to say this, and I said it in my previous video and I talked about it, but I want to reinforce that idea that the United States presents an existential threat against Europe, against the EU, against the UK, against any kind of potential country that exists in the so-called Western sphere of influence. That was basically the sphere of influence of the United States, and it also represents a danger to the Eastern European countries. It represents a threat to Africa. It represents a threat to Asia. Not so much because you have China there, and a war against China is unwinnable at the moment. And also again it's also a continuous threat, and it has always been, and it continues to be a threat on Canada, on Mexico, on Central and South America, in particularly to Brazil, which is the largest country in the south and a really potential rival to the United States, with a completely different type of culture. Not going to say if it's better or worse, just going to say this as it is. Now, in the latest news that have come out of the United States, of their strategic plan, one can see that their strategic plan in Europe is to create chaos and havoc in our societies. It is to divide us. It is to make us weaker so that we are easy prey for their shit, for their so-called dominance. And they are particularly pissed at the EU because we are telling them to fuck off. Oh yes, I'm going to swear in this video. No worries. Okay, if you are offended, well, I'm sorry, but sometimes a good swear word can present itself as an effective way of issuing a warning shot to anyone that thinks that we are talking about rainbows and lollipops around here. We're not talking about rainbows and lollipops. We are talking about the country that has directly threatened us, all Europeans. And when I mean Europeans, I mean everyone. I even mean you idiots from Reform in the United Kingdom. Unless you are happy to be their little bitches, little bitch slaves. The man in the United States, he has said it loud and clear. I don't know, honestly. Well, I do know, because we also have Ukraine to think about. But I don't know why we are still pandering to this schmuck of a country in NATO. And look, and I'm not going to sit here and discuss, oh, it was Europe's fault because they did this and did that, because that is a long story and it's not a complete one. Okay? We have been paying really hard into the Americans, into the American business, into the American military complex. We have been paying really hard into their military complex to have a couple of bases of Americans here in in Europe to protect us from the former USSR. Okay, and also we have to say that America is now an ally of Russia. This, in my view. I won't even go into the entire Israel situation because that deserves a different video, and it also deserves to be seen in a different optics. Okay, because there is more to it than that simple economic dependence of the United States towards Israel, which I find rather curious, and that people often, I don't know, they seem to have an issue talking about it, like if you talk about it you are going to be branded an anti-Semite. How can I be branded an anti-Semite if I have no kind of ill will towards Jewish people? I really don't care who your imaginary friend is. I really don't. I really don't. And I am not one of those that says that Israel should never existed. Well, too bad. Israel exists. And the solution to and I'm just going to address this briefly, okay? I will make a separate video to talk about it. As it is, there is already a solution for the entire problem in Israel and in Palestine. A two-state solution, okay? The Palestinians have their state, the Israelis have their own, and they can both fuck off to their side of the border. And when people come around to me and say, "Oh well, but Hamas, they will rearm and they will do the attack again," or in the Palestinian side they will never stop, they are going to continue until they kill us all, I say, well, we have to look at the current situation, and there will be consequences of what has been done, and those consequences, they won't be. Look, it will be very hard for Israel to play the genocide card when they themselves have been doing it in in Palestine. Look, you can present to me all of your technical jargon. You can say to me the civilians were hiding the Hamas terrorists. You can say this every day. But the only thing I have to tell you is this: a dead civilian is a dead civilian. Those people that were in that concert or festival or whatever it is in Israel, they were civilians. Innocent civilians. And the people that Israel has been killing in Gaza, they are also civilians. And one wrong does not make another wrong right. And if you are a follower of any Abrahamic religion, if you are a Muslim, a Christian, or a Jew, you know that what I'm saying is completely according to the ethics of said religions. No death is justifiable, even if there are then interpretations of religion or whatever, but no. Even to the Muslims, okay, even the Prophet told him to make war in a humane way. They didn't told them to create extermination wars. They told them to defend themselves, to defend their faith, and if a man leaves his weapons and surrenders, that man should not be killed. And you should not enslave women, and you should not enslave children. The same goes for the Christians. The same goes for the Jew. The same goes. It's equal in all of religions, and you can present to me 1,000 interpretations, and I will recite to you all that I have learned about these different religions, but the result will always be the same. It is not justifiable to kill civilians. It's morally wrong. It's ethically incorrect. But that is for another discussion. Today we are talking about the United States and Europe. Now, sip of water. Water, not vodka. Okay, I seldom drink. Now, as I was saying, this entire situation it it represents a very hard position for Europe because we will also have to consider all the Americans that live here. And we will also have to consider that technically most of the American people are related to the European people. Okay, uh, everyone in Europe has an ancestor, a cousin, an uncle, whatever, that went off to the United States to make a living. Okay, and that settled there and that stayed there. Okay, so those cultural ties will always exist, no matter how artificial and different the American life remains. There are some transforms itself into. Sorry, there are some basic traits that will always be common. And look, and I'm not talking about shit as like the ice cubes or ice cubes and water and okay, whatever. I'm not talking about that petty shit that is really just someone having the self entitlement to believe that things across the world would be exactly equal as they are in your country. Okay, and I'm saying this to everyone in the world. I'm saying this to the Brits. I'm saying this to the people in the EU. I'm saying this to the Americans, to the Canadians, to the Australians, to whoever. Okay, that is just when you say something like that is pure self entitlement. Because when you arrive at a different country, the only thing you need to understand is this: if you choose to live there, then you will have to adapt to the customs of the land. You will have to do what all other people do, and you will have to act like other people do. And perhaps bring something that might improve the conditions of living of the people in the country that you install yourselves in. Okay? This is the first thing I'm going to say. The second thing is that I'm going to say, and this is very important, and I want you to really, really listen to me when I say this. I, I, and the people that think like me, am against any kind of violence against Americans in Europe. I'm completely against any kind of persecution, any kind of attempts of making their lives harder, or but also I'm also a defender of I'm against any kind of special treatment to them. They should be treated like any other foreigner that chooses to live in Europe. But this is very important because what I'm going to say now, I know that some Americans will perhaps be offended. I'm offended or bothered by it. But you have to understand that I'm not saying this directly to you. And if you are living anywhere in Europe and you pass by me or any other European, you have to understand this is not hostility. Okay? This is pragmatism. And pragmatically, pragmatically, each and every European, each, all Americans. Sorry, sorry, I'm a bit tired. I was working on something, and now I'm a bit. It's a bit hard to be speaking in English, but every American that now lives in Europe is a potential threat. You are a potential threat. And I'm very sorry to tell you this, but you are going to have to constantly show that you are not. It's life. it's hard, it's human nature, and it's pragmatism. Because we let you live here, but we really don't know who you are. We had a similar situation with the Russians. The Russians are going through it too, are going through the same situation also. And a lot of them are decent people, decent, normal people that just want to work, raise their families, pay their taxes, be at peace, not being persecuted uh, by Putin minions or whatever, that don't like what is happening in Ukraine. They don't like in what their country has become, just like you. But they are treated with suspicion. Sometimes they are arrested quicker than you would arrest any other person in a similar situation. And this is going to happen to all Americans in Europe. And this is the reason, really, this is the core reason why I'm doing this video. Because I think it's important that you understand this. Whatever happens, whatever convulsions and problems that happen in Europe, the connection that existed between the United States and Europe is that. Whatever that comes after this, it will be what we around here call a rotten peace, meaning a peace that no one wants, but a peace that has to exist in order for a war to not break out. And this rotten peace will continue until one of the sides decides it has had enough, and they will go into a full-blown hostility move. It's already happening. If you watch news outside of the United States, you will see that Europe is taking decisions completely ignoring the United States. Decisions in the sense of, for example, war in Ukraine, where all countries should be, including the United States, in a united front and defending the interests of Ukraine. The only bloc that is defending the interests of Ukraine right now is Europe. It's the EU and the United Kingdom. Yes, United Kingdom. I'm going to include them here too, because you should know how much the United Kingdom has contributed to the protection of Ukraine, and how much it still does, even with all the difficulties that it's now having. A situation that will dramatically change if Mr. Farage ever reaches the parliament. That you also have to know. And I think we here in Europe, like I said in my video about when I talked about Europe having to arise and be united in a united front in order to protect its own existence, we all need to understand that. We all need to continue with what many of us have already been doing, which is to boycott American products, boycott American services, because it will be easier to do it in the future when it becomes an absolute necessity. What the EU did now, for example, by fining Mr. Musk in 120 million euros, which are more than $120 million if you don't know this, and that some people say, oh, it's pittance for him. Okay, it's not the fine, it's a gesture. And in the past, Facebook, Amazon, I think, and I don't recall, a couple of more, they have all been fined or prosecuted or whatever. And there are more than one case brewing around in the justice system in many European countries against these people, and it will continue, and it will be a very look. If you are expecting some kind of great major event to happen, don't. It's going to be something very slow. It's it's going to start by an indifference, meaning you go to a shelf or to a provider of any kind of media service and you look at it and you see, "Hmm, this is American. No, not doing this one. Going to do this one." Okay? Or you're going to a shelf. What? This is from an American company. Well, not going to buy it. And as sales decrease, the interest of the people in buying those products diminishes. In the case of media, the the concurring services that work for that media for the European market will diminish, and pretty soon they will become irrelevant or minor. And not because if you are expecting something as drastic as, for example, tomorrow the EU bans all American media, you are sadly mistaken. This is not how things work here, because they are constantly giving them an opportunity to act according to our regulations. Because the purpose of Europe is not to stifle the economy and not to stifle business like the United States does. It's and centralizes the United States also. Uh, the objective is to have better services, because as we here think about the individual, about the citizen, you in the United States you think about the business and the corporate business. It's a very different way of thinking, completely different, and this causes for our citizens to be more fierce in the defense of their own rights. This is very important also. Okay, so you will have a situation in the future, and I don't think. Look, and to be honest with you, even if it's a slow process, I'm not expecting it to be that slow, because I'm already seeing it. Okay, I have seen a lot of people leaving a lot of medias. Okay, I see a lot of, for example, if you look at the kids, you will see them watching videos on TikTok or whatever, and YouTube. But platforms like X are used by crazy people, and for people that really don't have another way of expressing their lunacy. And pretty soon, all of those platforms they're going to be, how can I put this without sounding like a jerk? Not silence, because that would imply an authoritarian move. It's not that I want to say. It's more like a book that you already read and that you have no interest in reading again, and that just sits in your shelf and you don't touch it. Okay, you understand this analogy? Perhaps it's a bit hard for the younger generation that only reads on their phones or on their computers. Okay, I also do the same. So who am I to criticize them? But I sometimes like a physical book in my hands. But it's going to be a slow process, and this is like a process of erosion. Okay, uh, all of these moves by the United States, all of these actions, all of these words, all of this has been. It's like it's been eroding a pillar, where our mutual commitment to each other resides. And the United States keeps eroding and eroding and digging up the pillar in their side, and Europe is more or less staying in the same, trying to, let's see if these idiots do something else. And right now, with this latest, with this latest declaration, okay, of the strategic plan, that a lot of countries in the world supported. You want to know which was your biggest supporter, Americans? Russia. Okay? Russia was the biggest supporter of your plans. Imagine why. Do you know what Russia is? Do you know what is happening inside their borders? You, the people in your government, they are convinced that they are going to create a situation where the United States will rule half of Europe and Russia will rule other, and then together they are going to destroy China. This is your idea. You are living completely in the past. Right now, if China wanted, if it had that intention, it could invade Russia in the east, occupy whatever lands they wanted, and not even the nuclear missiles of Mr. Putin would protect him from that. The same here in Europe. If the European Unions decide to invade Russia, Russia is fucked. And it's a very hard thing for me to say this, okay, because I will probably stay in how they how what did they call them, home defense, okay, in the case of a war, because maybe I'm too old to go to the front, who knows, but I would volunteer if it was needed. This I can tell you, have no issues with it. But to die, to live tomorrow, who knows. uh, but everyone is just trying to avoid this because we have seen the meat grinder in Ukraine. Okay, a million Russians, more than a million Russians right now, are dead in the fields of Ukraine. 1 million. Think about it. Around 3 to 6 millions. Those figures are not certain, but it ranges from. I have seen numbers of 3 to 6 millions have left Russia. Russia started this with a population of 140 something million people. So right now, I don't know. Take at least 10 millions out of that equation. And the people that are dying are the people that would create the next generations. So already Russia is going through a demographic crisis of unknown consequences. I have seen a lot of numbers, a lot of figures, a lot of things that I think we should take with a grain of salt. But the most conservative report that I heard about this was like this: in 20 to 30 years or less, Russia will have a population of around 120 million or less. In 100 years, it will have a population under 100 million people. Even if all the Russians right now get jiggy with it, it won't change it. This is mathematics. It's not magic. It's facts. It's economics. It's certain. And in the United States, you are going to have a situation where you are having a situation right now in which your younger generations, they are not able to have a house, they are not able to start a family, they are completely stuck, and a lot of them are leaving. A lot of them are right here in Europe, and the first thing that many Americans do when they arrive at Europe is that they look for a partner. I'm not look. I'm not trying to. How do you say it? To say they are getting jiggy with it in Europe. Whatever. No. It's a matter of logic, because if a person comes to Europe, sees him or herself in a better situation, in a situation where they can feed themselves, where they can afford the rent, they can live more or less normal. Even with oh, look, even with all the issues that Europe has is having, okay, Portugal, Spain, Italy, they are having housing problems. Okay, there are a lot of issues here, but the problem is that here you listen to the governments doing something, and here you listen to the government saying, "We are thinking about you," and you see the government taking action to solve this situation. Okay, around here, for example, they already have a drawn-out plan that is already starting to increase the wages and to also to increase and change completely the housing market. Next door to Spain, they are doing the same thing. And we look, and I don't want to sound paternalizing, okay, like, oh, holier than thou. No, that is not what I'm trying to say. But the issue is that in Europe we are used to having occasional crises. Okay, we know it happens. It doesn't surprise us. It doesn't depress us. It's a part of life. In my life, I'm 50. Okay, and in my life, the first time I understood that a crisis was going on was in the early 80s when I was a kid, very little kid, small kid, and my father, we had businesses, and my father sent me to be with an aunt for a couple of months. That was the first time that I knew that a crisis was going on. Okay, then in the late 80s, when I was already a teenager, another crisis hit. It lasted around a year. Then we had the crash in the early 2000s. Then we had the pandemic. Then we have the war in Ukraine. And you get used to it. What I feel that is lacking in the Americans is the ability to understand that the world changes. Okay, you cannot go back to some kind of 50s post World War II Cold War wonderland. You cannot go back to that, and it would be stupid for you to want to come back to that, because that is not the nature of life. Life evolves, societies change. Do you think all of us in, I don't know, in 1,000 years or in 500 years or even in 100 years, do you think all of us will all be, for example, atheists, Christians, Muslims, Jews, or Buddhists, or whatever? Do you think we will all be the same religion? We will all. Do you think, for example, the Muslims will act in this way in 100 years, or the Christians will act in this way in 100 years, or whatever, or that this or that religion will even exist, or even if any religion will exist? The Romans had their religion. The Greeks had their religion. The Middle Eastern people had their religion. The Egyptians had their religion. China, even with all the continuously of their religion, it also changes. Japan also changes. Everything changes. Nothing remains the same. The only thing that you can do is to adapt your behavior to live the best life that you can. And doing what is being done in America, that will only lead to one thing: stagnation. Nothing more. And again, you can argue with me, you can say, no, we are evolving, we are turning back wokeism, we are doing this, we are doing that, and the only thing that you are going to show me when you say those things is that you are not very smart or that you are a bit delusional. I don't like to call people dumb because that's a bit harsh and a bit inaccurate in my view. This lightning is terrible today. But what I want you to take out of this video is this. Uh, Please don't be surprised with what will end up, without doubt, happen in the future. Because if you are here, like I am, and you listen to the news in more than one language, you can see a tendency. Does that mean that that tendency will absolutely happen? No. No. But this means that we all here, we already know what is going to happen. We already know that we are already having some kind of a confrontation with Ukraine, with Russia. We all know that Russia is trembling and quaking like a bad car or a tired bull, and that it will it will crash down one way or another, even if it is just for take a breather before going at it again. But it's going to crash down. Okay, they are basically, if you don't understand, you Americans, you don't understand this type of war or this way of thinking. But in the way of thinking of the Russians, of the Russian soldiers, of these people, not the Russian soldiers, the Russian generals, and of these people, uh, a human life is worth nothing. If you need to send in 100 men to conquer, I don't know, a mile of land, and if they all die, but you conquer that land, it's a win. If you look behind the Russian line of engagement with Ukraine, behind that, it's only dead land. It's burned infrastructures, it's destroyed infrastructures, it's scattered pockets of population. It's a complete mess. It's going to take millions, billions of investment to recover that. And it will look, and this is my personal opinion. Okay? This is my personal opinion. It's not an absolute proof in what will happen. What will happen is as simple as this. They are going to reach some kind of commitment. Okay? That will expel the Russians from most of Ukraine, if not all. Then Ukraine is going to fortify itself and become stronger. At the same time, the rest of Europe will also get stronger. Inside of Russia, if they maintain this regime, they will become more and more authoritarian and with more and more issues in controlling their own population, which is already happening. Don't forget that. And soon enough, you will have an all-out war. And this time it will be this side invading the other. But when that happens, in the United States, you should start and tremble, because you're next. And I'm not joking with you. I am really not joking with you. This is the situation that your president is creating. You are creating enemies where you had allies. All of these policies, this is the only thing they're creating. Because all of these people that now say they're your friends because they don't want tariffs on them, as soon as you turn your back, they are going to grab the biggest knife they have in the house and they're going to stick it in your back. Not because of being traitors, not because of being fearful, but because they know you are a threat and they need to take you down before you take them down. This is why also in other videos of mine I keep saying I hope that the American giant falls alone and that we have the sense of just turning away and let it fall. Right now we cannot do anything about the United States. The only thing that can do anything about the United States are the Americans themselves. And you can do it without violence. If you start buying their shit, if you stop buying their shit and they have no profits, you are undermining their power. If you insist in following the law, you are undermining their power. And that is the only way that you are going to do it. But if you are able to do that, don't expect to have the same type of relationship you had with your allies than you have before. Don't expect it, because it's not there anymore. I see it in my country. Okay, my country has always been very open to cooperate with the United States. Okay, militarily, politically, and I see that gone. And when a little country already starts to ditch you, imagine what the big ones are doing. The ones with big real economic power. Okay, the economy here in Portugal is growing, and growing in an accelerated way. Go watch a video. Okay, go see the numbers, and instead of listening to some propaganda that I also have been listening, but it's natural because okay, it's Russian propaganda, it's American propaganda, which is basically the same. And again, I don't want you to. These are just ideas that I put at your consideration. Like I always tell you, okay, we are sitting in a cafe, okay, we are having a nice cup of coffee, okay, it's a nice winter day, winter sun, okay, we're just talking and we're just discussing ideas, which is the core of my channel, is to discuss ideas. It's very important for people to discuss ideas, to talk. People have forgotten the art of speaking with each other. People have forgotten the art of discussing ideas. Okay? And I'm not talking about things like some comments that I mentioned in my latest video that I've been having of people simply entering in a comment section to attack. Why? What is the purpose of that? I even have a guy that said that Europe had an Iran-China type uh, governance. What kind of lunatic affirmation is that? And he doesn't even know that governments are changing in China and in Iran. Completely out of touch with the reality. Look, this is very ridiculous, and I'm not going to talk about it again. Uh, right now, you know what I'm doing? I'm just erasing those comments because I have no patience for it. Okay, it's kind of mental garbage, in my opinion. Okay, I think people should just try and be a bit more, a bit more in touch with their inner voice that tells them, "Shut up! Don't make a fool of yourself." Okay. And if you don't like what I'm saying, if you don't like my views, my friend, please don't like my videos, don't make comments, fuck off. It's as simple as this. But don't waste my time, and don't waste the time of other people that come into my comment section, that comment on my videos, that discuss real opinions and not fantasies. And don't try to say, oh, and you dictate what is fantasies and what is not. No, I'm not dictating anything. If you go into the comment sections, you will see some comments of people that are saying the complete contrary of my opinion. They are still there. Why? Because they were civil and they were logic. This is the nature of engaging with someone. The basic rules are simply to be factual, not spread any kind of misinformation or fake news, That in Europe is a crime. In my country, it's a crime to do that. Reason why I'm always telling you this: fact check me, understand this is an opinion, understand this is not a fact, and that when it is a fact, I clearly say it. And it's clearly a fact that the United States no longer is a trustworthy ally of Europe, from their actions, from their words. What else is it to say? Well, this little rant has gone a bit long. Oh god, almost 46 minutes. Oh. But you know, I'm a ranter. Like someone told me, I might be a bit like David McGuinness. David. So I'm a bit of a rant. But look, it's this is why I created this video, this channel. Okay, to talk, to rant, to discuss ideas, and to simply try and bring something good into other people's business, god, other people's life, even if I'm just a company when you are doing something else, right? All shorts. Well, my friends, thank you all for listening to my little video, and I hope you are all well and safe, and I hope to see you all in the next one.